Welcome back to the final session of the day at FinTech Festival India Bengaluru Micro Experience, everyone. Now, the companies have been held accountable for a variety of societal difficulties with social, environmental, and economic ramifications. Despite the fact that the vast majority say that attaining corporate sustainability is a top goal for them, to that aim, emphasis has also been placed on developing and promoting sustainable products and services that have a positive influence on the society as a whole. Now, furthermore, the citizens are becoming more responsible and aware of the consequences of various services and good consumption and expect them to be produced or operated in a sustainable and transparent ways. Now, addressing societal, social, environmental, and economic concerns generates value for a wide range of stakeholders. Our next panel will talk about changing the long-standing ideas about decision-making, management practices, competitive strategy formulation, and value creation through data analytics from the FinTech point of view. Moderating this panel, we have with us Mr. Shaji Pulukul, Solutions Director with Rapider Cloud Solutions Private Limited. Shaji is joined by Mr. Shivatsa Vardarajan, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Spice Money, and Virendra Yaduvanshi, Vice President, Data Services, Manipal Business Solutions. And completing this panel, we have with us Mr. Rohit Agrawal, Chief Executive Officer of M Capital. So with that said, Shaji, the stage is all yours. Please take the session forward.
Yes, Ashik. Yeah. Thank you, Amit, for taking up this session. Hello, everyone. Just a brief introduction of what exactly today's big data ecosystem has changed the way business or the company do their business, right? So an industry or an organization today is being gauged with the amount of data that they possess, right? So it's an enormous amount of data that they possess with which the enriched information or enlightenment happens in an industry, and which revolves or give a much fruitful business-oriented goals to that end product. I mean, that's how exactly the ecosystem today lies, right? So that's the significance of the big data in today's world. To put in some facts and figures, Bank Inter, a Spanish bank, runs around 5 million simulations in 20 minutes today. And that's just because of the innovations in terms of cloud and in terms of big data ecosystem that is today. Perfios process 2 million financial documents in a month. And Paytm, we know that the processing time or an onboarding time of Paytm has been reduced from 4 hours to 1 minute. I mean, that's the kind of ecosystem. A fintech specific ecosystem that lies today. These are some of the organizations that you're talking about specific to fintech, but that's not really limited to a fintech specific media and entertainment, logistics, hospitality, or financial sector specifically, right? So all these industries has given a big amount of enrichment because of the kind of big data processing that the capability that they have. Hello, everyone. I'm Shaji Pulukul. I head the data analytics with Rapider Cloud Solutions. So we are in the journey of enlightening customers by enriching the data and giving a value addition solutions for the customer. Today, as far as the customer base is concerned, we do have providing solutions for media and entertainment, logistics, hospitality, and financial sector as well. Yeah? Coming back specifically to the FinTech Fest of India, today's show, I just want to turn back to the pages from the Indian history, right? One of the golden words from Mahatma Gandhi, future of India lies in its villages. And now what exactly I mean by that, you'll have to stay tuned to hear from some of our panelists. Adding to that, now every single guy over here would have been applied for maybe thinking about starting up some small sector a startup or a small industry of his own, applied for a 10 lakhs loan. From my personal experience, I would say it's going to take us close to a couple of weeks or months before I'm going to get my loan sanctioned or loan being provisioned. How about a scenario where your loan is going to get delivered on your doorstep before your Domino's pizza guy deliver it on your doorstep, the pizza, right? I mean, how that's something wonderful thoughts for you to have, right? So that's exactly what we're going to listen or hear today from this panel and for us. First and foremost, I will invite Shivatsa Vardarajan, COO of Spice Money, to share his thoughts in terms of a big data ecosystem and how exactly they are doing their business in this current situation.
Sure. Thank
Welcome,
you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Saji, for that introduction. To set the context about big data, I need to give a brief about the organization, which will give a natural process of setting the context. I work as a chief operating officer for Spice Money Limited. It's India's largest rural fintech. We serve the rural population across 18,000 pin codes plus pin codes. We've got around about 9 lakh plus merchants. We work in a complete digital environment with complete digital ecosystem in place. It's a financial inclusion journey that we have started with, where we have APS-based cash withdrawal, ATM cash withdrawal. We've got cash deposits, TMT, and other business lines, which brings in financial inclusions for rural India through a distribution model along with digital ecosystem. We also have organizations launched in recently called as Travel Union, which is into travel domain into rural sector. And with these all capabilities and ecosystem that has been built, we'll be bringing in financial inclusion, not only for the merchants, the micro merchants, but also to the end B2B, B2C segment through this distribution model. Now that sets the context for the big data information. So the moment when we talk about an assisted model with a digital capability, the whole system is all about collecting information and data. The information and data is about the merchants who are serving the end consumers on our behalf in rural India, which I'm talking about tier 3 and tier 4 locations. The smartphone penetrations in rural India is very less compared to what it is in tier 1 and tier 2 locations. So that digital assisted model through these merchant ecosystems who are far evolved in digitizations gives an assisted model to these consumers. So the first information that we collect is about the merchants, is the ecosystem, is the existing business, plus the add-on business that they do along with us, and how this network is close-knit within the community of rural India, who serves the rural India using the ecosystem that we build along with our financial partners and the banking partners in the backend. So it becomes a seamless transaction. So the large amount of enormous amount of transactional information data of end consumer gets captured in. The profiling of merchants gets captured in, and also the segmentations of their customers and the segmentations of merchants gets captured in. So this gives a complete financial ecosystem understanding about the merchant, his needs, his sociographic profiling, his social profiling, whether he's in LinkedIn, whether he's available in YouTube, whether he's using Facebook channel, and whether he's an influencer to the end consumers in the market. But there are large amount of data which comes in the structured format to us, which is basis the transaction orientation which happens in a secured environment, that is with the end consumers. But there are a lot of data which we try to consume which are unstructured, available in different digital footprint across the ecosystem. Now getting this all information assimilated, creating a pattern and understanding, and then joining the dots becomes much more easier, because data gives you a complete insight of creating product innovation IP. So when you understand that an ex-consumer gets onboarded through this merchant and the profiling of his consumer is understood well, and you understand the profiling and capability of the merchant, you understand the data, provide him with more information of financial products, you train him, you coach him, you understand his customer well, and you start giving a lot of recommendations to him in the front end. And this creates an engagement model. So this data enables one with the structured data and unstructured data to decipher, get the information, give recommendation, and help the distributor or the manufacturer or the end consumers or the merchants to digitally assist the end consumers. Appointed sale transactions, cross-sell and upsell capability, basis his income appetite, and basis his financial needs, and also basis need generation that needs to be generated basis data analysis. So this calls for a lot of information. So this is practically if you give him a pen and a paper, if you ask him to write the survey information, and then if it gets collected back, and if you start putting this information in the form of a data entry, you have lost a lot of time. And this is what exactly today's digital India has done. The information capturing and gathering has become far more evolved, which means your digital KYC integrated with the other existing ecosystems like India Stack has helped you to give you a lot of digital footprint, validation, prevention of fraud basis data, basis velocity checks, and also give a lot of information about his need and wants, which is not fulfilled right now. So that's how rural India is getting into the complete understanding of the corporate world. because you've got more than 61% of the population residing there. Out of 150 crores, more than 61 crore plus population is in rural India, and that's where the real financial inclusion is going to come from. To a very large extent, the tier 1, tier 2 people have adopted to the digital ecosystem. They are into the digital economy, but the real understanding of data, the real economy is sitting in rural India, and that's the segment where we are focusing on and trying to solve the problem with the help of meaningful data.
Great, Shweta. So just to summarize it, close to 61% of the target audience is what we are actually capturing. And instead of having a pen on paper kind of a model that you traditionally believed in, and that used to be a data capturing mechanism, we are going through a lot more digitized KYC mechanism with which your data is being collected. And this could easily, human error is being eliminated completely, as well as prevention of the fraud kind of mechanism is also being eliminated completely from the system. Great. Moving on, a similar kind of an industry, I would like to Virendra's Iruvanchi's thought process on how exactly a big data ecosystem is evolved and how exactly it helps the industry is what we'd like to check. Over to you, Virendra.
Thank you, Sajay. It's a great pleasure and great privilege to be here today. Little overwhelming, if I may say so. So myself, Virendra Yadvanshi, I'm heading data best practices with Manipal Business Solutions, having an experience as a technologist, data architect, and IT leader. Side by side, I'm associated with Microsoft SQL Server Pass and speaker at various SQL Saturday events across the globe. Likely a research analyst professional with progressive experience in customer insights, data analytics, marketing analytics, and market research and innovation. I would like to mention here, innovation is an investment, and we are the pioneer in financial inclusion and FinTech platform. We are most trusted and big in field of financial inclusion and rural lending. Our servicing platform is so robust, secured, and multi-fold scalable. We understand our customer and their needs. We are continuously working towards our customer service and satisfaction program enhancing our platform. Manipal Business Solution foray in rural unified banking services. It has been providing a fully functional and certified end-to-end system for enabling authentication or eKYC, you can say, and payments, UID, Aadhaar, APS-based platform to financial institutions and providing asset loan sourcing as well. The major services we are providing through our financial inclusion platform, SahiPay, are like it's a totally technology service provider to extend banking services like cash withdrawal, as Sivat told, cash deposit, mini statement, balance inquiry, PIN reset, etc. And provision of business correspondent or merchant, you can say in other words, to deliver banking and financial services through doorstep bankings. Account opening through eKYC and RD services approved by UIDAI. So we are spreaded and we are collecting so lots of data from our platform from the rural India, and the merchant, there are so lots of merchant customer segmentations are there, and we using that we are trying to understand what are the basis on the merchant acquisition and what are the retention of the particular that merchant customer, you can say as well. The particular merchant life cycle value model, credit scoring models, we have developed our own in-house method for the credit scoring models. We better understand what are the merchant journey and attributions rate, merchant services and user experiences, and basis on the data using the multiple layer of the data modeling. We are in fraud detection and prevention as well. We are also doing the social media footprinting and try to understand the merchant system from one platform to another platform, as well as we are in risk assessments and portfolio optimization and asset management, as well as So many things we are doing in terms of the data, you can see.
Great, Virendra. So it looks like how exactly a customer experience or customer journey can be fruitful from the platform, and that's exactly the kind of a business or enrichment that you're trying to bring, or a value additions. Great to hear that. Moving on now, as I said, if you are an MSME and how exactly you can, a loan can be provisioned. The traditional world where we used to wait for almost a month, you have to have your collateral in place, and a lot of processing that's required for getting a loan approved, from close to 2 days or maybe lesser than that, similar kind of an ecosystem that's been brought in. And that's exactly what we're going to hear from Rohit Agarwal. Over to you, Rohit.
Thank you so much, Shaji. It's a pleasure to be here amongst all of you. Just a quick background about where I come from. So I lead the NBFC, which is part of the MSwipe group. We call it M Capital. MSwipe is one of the leading players in the payment space, especially in the MPOS business. We, as a payments company, we have a merchant base of close to about 1 million plus merchants who transact with us through our POS machines and QR codes. So it was a natural extension for us to add a layer of financing business to help the needs of the merchants that we cater to on the payment side of the business. And that's when we decided to set up a business of financing to these merchants. We call that business M Capital. M Capital is a registered NBFC, and we sort of deal in small ticket loans, which are completely unsecured in nature, to I would say merchants. Merchant financing is what we do. Merchants or the small retailers, as we call, is essentially the long tail of the SME, the micro entrepreneurs that we have in this country. Our ticket sizes ranges from 50,000 rupees to 10 lakh rupees. And like you touched upon the fact that in terms of the delivery, a lot has changed over the last few years. Today, with digitization, especially and post demonetization, loans are being delivered in less than about 2 days. Some companies are doing it in a few hours. So that's the size of that's the kind of I would say efficiency that we've been able to sort of reach to. In terms of, I would say, the broader topic that we are discussing today. See, in terms of, I mean, while we are talking about big data, I mean, we need to understand how we as a country and how we as a human race are sort of changing over the last few years. The way we are sort of operating these days is, I mean, you see billions of emails which are sort of being pushed out every second. There are millions of tweets which sort of happen sort of every second. So a lot of data which earlier used to be sort of being captured in an offline mode today is being captured in an online mode. And some research sort of papers say that about 95% of the data that we have today is on the cloud, is in the form of online data that we all of us consume. So there are specific tools that each company on the digital lending side is using to sort of use these tools. As a country, if you see, we've created now infrastructure where we are able to access the GST data, the income tax data, the Aadhaar-led sort of KYC data, which is helping NBFCs and fintechs to sort of create a seamless delivery. So a lot of that has been done. We believe that some of the initiatives from the government in terms of account aggregator would also help reduce the timeline, and which one of my panelists said that reducing pen to paper sort of thing. So a lot of efficiency will come in going forward as well.
Great. So yeah, that's another exactly the similar kind of how exactly a big data kind of an ecosystem can bring in value additions even for an MSME kind of a sector, and how exactly M Capital can support and give value additions for the customer. Thanks, Rohit, for that. We'll take up some of the questions. First, let me check with Srivatsa on. So we understand the rural ecosystem. There are certain kind of a limitation in terms of what can be data capturing kind of a limitation, right? So one question which we have is what sort of an additional infrastructure changes that you really think can pave the way for greater rural development in terms of fintech? Or do you think are we a good stage where I can collect enormous amount of data and provide a value additions, or do you think there is some sort of an improvement, still a room for improvement over there?
Yeah, so when you look from a rural India perspective, of course, the digitization is not, though the smartphone penetration is slowly getting captured, there are alternative data sets in terms of SMS data, which people are talking about, and little bit footprint of people who are using bank accounts for transactions. In terms of JAM is a great initiative, right? A lot of money for especially the schemes which are run by the government, where subsidies are provided to the end consumers, and when they go to collect the data, they use Aadhaar enabled systems, they do transactions, money lies in wallet, money is lying in now bank account. So the triangulation of money and the digital footprint of transactions which are in the wallets, which are private wallets, which are there in the companies, and also in terms of bank accounts, which are public private banks, which are available. And to very large extent, if you see in rural India, the consumers have started availing the facilities of loans. They do understand, some of them understand the CIBIL, but you have a pretty large segment which is new to credit. This is a phenomenon both in the entrepreneurial circle, like the MSME has got a lot of footprint of new to credit, and also you've got consumers who are there as new to credit. Now here is where the innovation kicks in. So how do you go about tapping this segment, right? Now here is where the innovation comes in the lending. So lending cannot always be a traditional way of just checking bureau scores, banking scores, or transactional data. You need to create an engagement model where, especially in the MSME ecosystems or micro merchants, where you create toolkits, where you build in efficiency and productivity tools for them, where they capture the information data, they consume those toolkits for digitizing their business, and those information in turns becomes a surrogate information for you to create a scorecard for them. So that's one way of digitizing the merchant ecosystem. The same thing can happen with the help of merchant to the end consumers, where you create an interconnect digitization between a merchant providing a web and a mobile app, or a facility of an ecosystem, or something which is called as a digital ledger to the end consumer, which is consumed for credit. There is a credit has been, it's not something new, right? The credit has been right from the time when human civilization has been there. The only way of doing the credit mechanism has been changed over a period of time. Of course, those days it used to be in 525 kilometers radius, where the entire family tree, where to collect, how to collect, whom you're lending, and this entire family tree, and you used to be efficiency in terms of collection model. Now that has been pretty changed. You are trying to build an efficient collection model, a credit model with the digital footprint which is available to you. The underlying risk still remains same, and the underlying information of converting the data which used to be as a known information in your mind, which later on got captured in a book, in a physical book, which has come into a digitized format. That is the only difference. Now the smart way to do is, how do you further digitize this, right? How do you engage the consumers by giving them freebies for giving more information and data, and create a limit-based model? So there are many such innovation models in which you can engage, digitize, create digital ledgers, both for your merchants and as well as the end consumers, and create a new business model out of it. And this can happen only when you first capture the data, store the data, and consuming the data as per the product that you need to serve the end consumers. So the challenges are going to be there, because India is largely a cash economy. It is still not 100% digital economy. UPI is yet to catch the fire, though it is increasing in billions of transactions are happening. And in next 4-5 years, you will have much more larger footprint of data coming in. Until then, we need to find an innovative way of helping people digitize by solving their business problem, efficiency problem, capturing of information problem, and giving some incentivization for sharing the data. That's how we can solve this.
Great. Okay. Quite an insightful one. Yeah. So there is definitely a room for it, stating that rural India is not being completely equipped in terms of technology or maybe a 3G innovation, much more in a rigid way can give us a lot more insights. Great. And how about you think a recommendation system or anything of an AIML based approach? Is there anything can change the way or a change in outlook? Is there anything that currently SpiceMoney is doing something, or is it in your roadmap of that in nature?
It's definitely in the roadmap. What's information you need to capture is very important, right? If you want to run an algorithm of machine learning and also bring in artificial intelligence into it, you need to have enormous amount of data. You need to clean the data. You need to decipher the data. You need to create those logical sequence. And once you have a sufficient amount of data, and when you create a neural network out of the data, then getting a delivery done into artificial intelligence becomes much more easier. There are two ways to do it. One is either you take your structured data, the learning will be much more faster for the machine out there, and create algorithms, velocity checks, rules based can be done. That's an easy thing to happen. The challenge actually comes when you have an unstructured information and data coming in. And to bring and sense into it, bring a logical sequence into it and marry it with the structured data, and then create a sequence of algorithms, rules, which is what we call as an artificial intelligence, make the machine learn and then make it more intuitive. That is yet to come, because currently we say that there's a lot of data in the internet and available in the public space, but that constitutes only 2% of data of world data right now. So there's no sufficient information. With structured information, people have managed to do, they do use the word machine learning, but it's more of a structured guided learning that they do to the machine, and with the capability of workflow and rules, they deliver it and we call it as an AI. But the true form of creating that neural network and bringing in that intelligence of self-learning and self-delivery of rules is still not come in the market. It's not available even worldwide. It's all, so when people use the word ML and AI, we really think about that, looking at the movies, but we are yet to go reach that stage across the globe.
Okay. Thanks, Srivastava. That was a good insight. Moving on to exactly the similar industries, how exactly Manipal Business Solution also have thought through in terms of infrastructure changes would lead to any slightly growth in terms of your business processing? Virendra, you have any thought process around it? Or is it?
Yes, Saji. And I totally agree with Srivast's what he was talking previously regarding the same. And the new trend with us are that is a neobank. That is the very fancy used to describe new age financial service provider. Neobank are online only financial technology companies that operate solely digitally or via mobile apps. So there are lots of scopes to fetch the informations in rural India. So lots of informations. People are using the smartphones based on that. So many things like various lending platforms are available. Rise of digital payments, like so many platforms are available nowadays. InsurTech facilities are available. And it's totally due to the increase of the tech adoptions at rural area. People are very habituate or means more inclined towards the use the smartphone, and this internet things are very common nowadays. And the government initiative like Jan Dhan Yojana, people are totally now banked, and the government initiative like Digital India, so many plans, so many schemes are running at the ground, and using it's very common. I mean, so lots of people are using the UPI and other stuffs for the payments. So based on that, so lots of informations are being captured. Basis on that, we can understand the customer, and based on the multiple algorithm, machine learning algorithm, we can precise our data and we can find what's going on and what things are required in ground.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that insight, Virendra. Now on to Rohit. How exactly the fintech? I mean, so just data beyond the transactional sources. I mean, how exactly it's adding value to an MSME financing in terms of your M capital innovations and things like that? Do you have some lights on it? Throw some lights on it.
Sure. So, see, historically, if you see, most of the lenders would look at the financial statements, banking statements, and the bureau score to assess the credit worthiness of a MSME merchant. And what this would sort of do is a lot of these MSME players who are new to credit or would have a very thin sort of a credit history would not get sort of through the filters of these lenders for an unsecured credit, and they would have to sort of avail a collateral sort of backed loan or arrange a guarantor, which the lender would sort of agree to. Now, what really has happened in the last few years is, with the use of technology, a lot of data which is now available and being sort of used to assess the behavior of the merchant. Because essentially, when you look at lending, there are two sort of things that one needs to establish. I mean, that's more like a cardinal principle: the ability to pay and the capability to pay. Yeah. So the historical sort of statements that we have only establishes one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is being addressed these days by sort of the data which is available, which we call alternate data, right? So at M Capital, we have, I mean, since we are a subsidiary of MSwipe has enough amount of data for the merchant who's doing business on an MSwipe machine. Now we use that data to establish a profile of the consumer, the merchant, for our assessment. We use something which is like a scorecard based approach. So that's one part of the thing that we do. The other part which we do is we also sort of work with a lot of these partners. So something like, if I have to give you an example, let's say if there is an e-commerce company or a platform business, the amount of business that the guy would have done on the platform would also give us some insights into the profile of the merchant. So we use some of these things to create a profile. Some of the things which are also available outside of what I spoke is whether if the merchant has paid the utility bills on time. Now that information also tells you something about the merchant. See, India is still largely a cash sort of economy. While we are seeing emergence of UPI, it's still low. Not every business transaction goes into a bank account. So how do you assess a merchant who is doing business on cash? So we as a country, we as a community are still trying to work that out. But some of these things are being used at our end, especially at M Capital, to assess the profile of the merchant so that we can help the underserved community of merchants and bring them into a formal credit economy.
Great. That's quite an insightful thought, Rohit. So a one-liner over here might be: start paying your bills on time, start giving all the credit card payment, and you may be entitled to getting a much better loan and much faster pace in a one-liner. Nice to hear that. Great. Also, just to check, so the abundance of data being collected from different sources, is it helping M Capital to come up with any innovative solutions? I mean, are you able to, because I recollect what you're talking about, M Capital being a subsidiary division of N-Swipe, you have an enormous amount of data that is being collected. And is there a roadmap that you are planning for with the more innovative solutions where you can get a loan being provisioned in maybe hours time or a real time or similar kind of nature? That's something.
Yeah, sure. So I'll answer that in two parts. One is whether data is helping us in terms of providing innovative solutions. So I'll tell you something that we do, okay, which sort of provides us an edge. We monitor the payments data of the merchant, and that sort of happens on a regular real-time basis. Now, that sort of gives us an early warning signal. I mean, I'm talking more from a collection sort of standpoint, okay? So what we are using today is, I would say, a technology-based approach to identify early warning signals. If a merchant is not using our machine, if the transaction flow declines during a certain period of time, we would get to know what is wrong with the merchant. The system would sort of show red flags to us. So that's, I mean, one use of technology to sort of establish, I mean, if everything is going fine or not. Most of the other lenders who don't have this capability on the payment side, I mean, like we do payments merged with sort of lending, they would get to know once the merchant defaults on a certain loan. We would get to know about the problem before the default is sort of made on our loan. So that's one aspect in terms of using technology. The other aspect is in terms of how to use technology to sort of arrive at a faster decision making, which sort of ensures that we are able to turn around an application faster. So I tell you what we are doing is we actually are sort of using a scorecard based approach there, where a lot of these data points which get collected, whether it is with respect to KYC, whether it is with respect to the financial statements, whether it is with respect to the payments footprint or the other digital footprint, it gets into a scorecard, and we've created sort of buckets. So if the score is above a certain level, it is a straight through processing for us, which ensures that the decision is taken within a few hours, right? And that then helps us to sort of disburse the loans faster, because the kind of ecosystem and the infrastructure that we have today, the loan agreements can happen online, the e-NASH can happen online, yeah, the KYC can happen online. So you don't really need to sort of have a touch point with the merchant for a lender to disburse a loan. So all of that infrastructure is available, and that is where sort of we say that we are looking forward to disburse a loan in about 4 to 6 hours in the journey ahead.
Great, Robin. Perfect. I mean, that really gives us an insight. I mean, so basically what we understand is the scorecard based approach. And if that turned out to be a good customer, bad customer sort of approach is being picked up, and based on that, your decision making is being made. On a ending note, I would like to have Srivat. So post pandemic, was there the way you do your business, any innovation thing? Was there any drastic change to it? A one liner or two liner? What do you think? What's good? What's bad in terms of your business, the way it's been processing?
It was a upswing for us in business post-pandemic.
Okay.
And as rightly predicted, post-pandemic, it was, whether we like it or not, across corporate merchants, across the ecosystem, it was a forceful digital adoption. If I roll myself back 10 years back, and if I ask people to come for a video conferencing and a video call and do a video chat and a video meeting, It used to be a program that I used to run where I used to put stickers, banners, convince people to conduct interviews and everything. Now the entire life has become like work from home and video calls. Similarly, even the merchants have started adopting beautifully the ecosystem. The logistics capabilities were leveraged extensively. The QR codes and the digital ecosystem, your machines, your POS machines were extensively utilized. You had many people getting into web and mobile framework for taking orders and doing delivery, online orders and offline deliveries model. So the business has been excellent post-pandemic. Realization has been a self-realization because it was a question mark of matter of life and death, right? And matter of survival. The bad part of pandemic is, yes, it was a slowdown for many other sectors, but at least in the sectors where it became a question of survival, the digital ecosystem has helped them to really not only survive, scale, adopt, and it has helped the economy overall. It's visible even in the way the Sensex is moving.
Sure. Thanks, Srivatsa, for that insight. Over to you, Virendra. Do you have any closing note? I think we are maybe running short of time as well. Any how exactly good or bad the industry is post pandemic? Any updates from your end, or how exactly business were for you?
Yes, Saji, like post pandemic, people are very keen to adopt the technology compared to previous one, and people are totally dependent on we are in an era of the video conferencing and online things. So it is a good in terms of the data analytics and understanding to do the data mining type of stuffs. And the understanding is far better compared to previous one, because so lots of informations are being captured because people are totally online nowadays.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Great, Virendra. So what I understand from here, we are actually living 5 years in future. I mean, that's exactly what pandemic has resulted into, and the technology adoption, which you would have seen only 5 years from now, which actually been adopted today, right? I mean, so FinTech, we have a very aggressive growth in terms of rural India as well as MSC kind of ecosystem is concerned. We are adopting in a very, very faster pace India as an economy. But there are a lot of rooms in terms of technology adoptions concerned, in terms of big data innovations and more to come in, and so that we have a much brighter economy in the coming future. With that, I end my thoughts over here, and thanks for the panelists for bringing all those insightful thoughts and really which helps most of us over here to understand how exactly the way your industry works and how exactly the FinTech industry is helping in terms of a big data adoptions too. Thanks everyone.
और रुपये में बिटकॉइन ट्रेडिंग
पॉसिबल है,
इम्पॉसिबल
लगी सर और हारा तो It's possible on CoinSwitch Kuber. Download करो और बिटकॉइन में ट्रेडिंग स्टार्ट. CoinSwitch Kuber, सिक्का चमकेगा.
Cryptocurrency is an unregulated digital asset, not a legal tender and subject to market risks and price fluctuation risks.
Where there is life, there is hope, there is meaning. But life has its downs as much as its ups. Life is about challenges. Life is about opportunities. Time for joy, time for celebration, and time to introspect. Thankfully, in every one of life's moments, and even beyond life itself, there's LIC. Where there is life, there's always LIC. Zindagi ke saath bhi, zindagi ke baad bhi.